So, welcome everyone to this 11th edition of Craft Choreography. We were supposed to be at the venue in Vienna, but as you know, we have lockdown right now. And on top of this, I anyway have to stay at home because I figure out that I'm positive. But luckily, thanks to this wonderful online opportunity, I'm able to host it anyway. However, I was supposed to be here with Rino, and of course, we cannot meet in person. So you have me. My name is Hygin Delimat. This is the 11th edition of Craft Choreography. This time we have 5 different pieces. Some of them are live pieces recorded. Some of them are pieces specifically designed for the video format. So we have from France, but currently living in Vienna, Liza Magnan with her Confidence. I hope I pronounce it correctly. We have from Netherlands, Liza Zhukova and Maria Zhukova in her piece Inner. From Netherlands as well, Alina Jacobs, Tempo of Time. And from Canada, Josh Martin, Brimming, as well as Kyra Jean Green, The Man Who Traveled Nowhere in Time.
I can see the tops of the houses in the neighborhood and the working cranes working on the new building at Hverfisgata. One of the best memories of this time, actually of all times, it's when seeing my baby for the first time in the sonogram.
Screaming, but they can't hear me. If only they knew. I wish I could change like them. Change my clothes, change my hair, change change something, anything.
I have few questions to Alina. What would you like the audience to know before watching the piece?
Actually, nothing, because I always like when people can experience and see my work without having prior information before, because then you can have your own ideas, your own interpretation about what you see and experience, and you have a neutral base to start with. And then eventually afterwards, it's nice to share the original concept of idea and then, compare your own and mine and see, what actually is the outcome.
Second question, a little bit more about the piece. Is there any special story behind it?
The only thing actually to say is that I created this film during my studies, and it was very short period. We had, I think, 5 days to create a concept, to organize it, to have the shoot, to edit it, and to present it. So I created it, within 5 days.
The current situation that she is in the lockdown.
Due to the fact that I'm not only dancing and choreographing but also teaching, I'm quite busy and I can work, but also because I create my own work and I don't have to rely only on work from outside, but I create my own work. But you feel definitely more competition in general because there are not a lot of open calls and everybody is trying to apply then. So it's harder to actually get something. And if there are chances or possibilities appear or you are accepted for something, it can suddenly happen that it is cancelled or postponed. So it's not easy at the moment, especially not if you're a young choreographer and your name is not yet known. But you also learn to be flexible and patient within that process, and to stay positive, although it's maybe not an easy process. So I'm good, but there are a lot of challenges for sure.
And I asked Josh the same questions. He did not record himself, so I'll read some of his answers. What would you like the audience to know before watching the piece? Brimming is a new solo work investigating the body as a container, a rigid frame holding in and concealing its stored inner contents. The piece imagines this hollow interior space, filled and emptied, and inhabited by different states. A performer trapped inside of their own body, the dance is a meeting of both the seen and unseen, the hidden contents that slosh up against the sides, pushing against the outer surface from beneath and occasionally leaking under this pressure. Brimming explores these shapes we are in, how it holds us, and what might eventually spill out when the walls begin to bend. Is there a special anecdote or story related to the work? Not really. This was research that I began 6 months before anyone had ever heard of COVID-19, and as I was initially developing movement in a very small enclosed space inside a shipping container on the back of a parked truck in an industrial area of Vancouver, BC, Canada. It was, at the time, a very isolating experience where I really felt hidden behind tight walls that were containing things no one on the outside would ever imagine were happening inside. It was supposed to be a live performance, and I hope it still will be one day. But it was postponed. Rather than doing nothing with it, this film was a way of keeping some of those initial ideas floating. How is your situation as a choreographer company? As I write, our studios have once again been shut down amidst our second wave. We are surviving and somehow busy. Our work is now about letting go of old models, formats, and previous approaches, habits for dance making, while starting to identify and explore new ways forward, new opportunities presented by the obstructions. We want to remain optimistic about this period for potentially great change, to disrupt the norms as means to rebuild a more equitable and inclusive landscape for dance. We are forced to ask ourselves why we pursue dance making in the ways we have in the past, and what is important now as guiding values and priorities towards new trajectories. Thank you so much for taking part in this venture. I'm really glad that you were able to make it, and that you produced these wonderful works. I am still stunned by how great they are. So that's my first impression. Thank you so much. And I think some of the audience were also pretty impressed. So thank you for providing that. So having that said, I would love to hear if you could tell me a little bit more about how the work was created in both of your cases. So how did you come up with the idea, and maybe a little bit more behind the scenes of each of the work. Thank you.
Do I start?
Feel free to do
I
so.
start. Hello. I first want to say that I'm also really happy to have been part of the scene tonight, and really happy to have discovered the others as well. It was really nice. You pronounced it really well, confidence. that was good. And so basically, as you said, it was during the first quarantine. Now we can say it was the first. So April, yeah, more or less April. And yeah, it's just important to put back in the context that first it was really the beginning of the Corona story. So it was still, I mean, it is still stressful, but much more or less than at that time. I did the quarantine in France, and it was fucking strict. And I stayed alone for 2 months in my flat. I haven't seen anyone for 2 months. And you could go outside only 1 hour a day and only 1 kilometer away from your house.
One
Yeah.
one piece of request: could you maybe let it loose and not hold the cable, because then we will have less of these cracklings.
Okay.
Okay, continue with your story. Sorry.
Yeah, so you could go only 1 hour a day outside and only 1 kilometer away. So it was really another time, another life. And in my flat, I could see the sun. I mean, I don't want to make it dramatic, but I just want to explain how was it at that time. So I could see the sun more or less only 2 hours a day. So for 2 hours, I was on the window, you know. And from my window, I could only see another building, which was more or less, I don't know, 10 meters away. So I saw this concrete building for 2 months. And of course, your brain starts to get a bit crazy. And so I was really thinking, wow, for maybe the first time in, no, it's not true, but for a long time ago, we were more or less half of Earth in the same situation at the same moment. So I started really to imagine what someone from Chile or from Canada or from India could think about this story. So in total, I got 13 recording voices from people from all over the world. And so their voice was the starting point of my dance. That's the story behind.
Thank you.
I don't know if I continue because I can go on. Thank you.
Are you still in France?
I was in between in Vienna. Now I'm back to France again, and it's the same story again.
Well, I sympathize for you. I was in I'm currently in Berlin, and I was in France, I guess 2 weeks ago, right before the really serious lockdown hit. So I'm sorry you're going through that. I've heard all about the restrictions.
Where were you in France?
I was in Paris, but only for a really short amount of time. I, like everyone else, was supposed to have a show in Spain, and after being in France, and it was canceled because for us in Canada, we had our second wave hit. And then as soon as I arrived in France, it followed me over. But just to answer the question you're asking about, my film came not a long time ago, but I made it way, maybe like started thinking about the concept maybe as early as like 2015, and it didn't really like come into form until years later. I had listened to a podcast that talked about the different perceptions of time, and when I listened to this podcast, it spoke about how I always knew our perception of reality was different, but I didn't realize how significantly different we could perceive time from one another and between small animals and larger animals. So I came up with a story about a man who never aged, and he didn't know why, and he saw everyone around him age and die and change, but he never did. And it was because he lived in the dreams of other people, like in their thoughts. So it was like a play on what's real for him, what's real for them. And the film came out of, I really wanted to do a big performance, and I did not have a big performance budget. I wanted to do like interactive kind of thing. And I approached the director. I said, hey, I have a dance. Do you think we could make a film? You want to help me with that? And then we made a 5-minute film out of a 30-minute piece.
It is a really beautiful film, I have to say. Like I really admire the craft that went behind it. Also, like of course the dance, but also the cinematography is incredible. Could you tell me a little bit more about this idea? Why the square? Why this stylized? Was it shot on film or was it shot on digital? How was it?
Digital. But I really didn't take, like, I really choreographed it. I worked with the director, and then I kind of just gave him carte blanche. We did a location scout. We looked at 2 houses, and that house, I remember afterwards being like, I don't really feel good in here. And he's like, I think that's the one we should go with. But in terms of editing, we had no deadline because it was just something we did. And we're like, okay, when we have time, we'll work on it. So I think there was maybe like 40 different edits of the film that happened. And I only saw maybe 5 of the different edits. So I didn't take part of a lot of the creation with the film itself. Like I didn't take part in the color grading or anything like this. This was all the director. This is all Vincent and his production company, Telescope Films.
And oh, are you? What was my question? Are you satisfied with the result?
Yeah, I was pretty, I had no expectations. I didn't know, I had never made a dance film. So I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. And we ended up eventually doing an interactive performance with the live piece inside of a museum. And we kind of led the people around, and then we ended with the film. So everyone kind of like was familiar with the movement. And then at the end, we were able to premiere the film with the performance. So that was really cool. And now we just share it when we can. And yeah, I don't know. I had no idea what it was going to look like, really. I had seen Vincent's work, and I really wanted to work with him. So I approached him, I was like, hey, I don't have a huge budget. I really like your work, and I would really love to collaborate. And it worked out.
Wow, this is really great. And could you tell me a little bit more about the process behind your work, Liza? Like how was it filmed all on the same day, or I guess you had a lot of time to work on it? How was it?
Yes, I had a lot of time. I mean, it was kind of a challenge to do the whole project while I was in quarantine. So it was more or less the second month of the quarantine. And I wanted to post 1 video a day. So the challenge was to finish the video every day. But it was a lot of organization behind to receive the voices, and that it didn't work. So I had to contact the people again. It was a good challenge. Usually I was receiving the recordings, and I didn't want to listen it before I dance. So as soon as I was ready, I was listening once and improvising directly just after, to see what came out from the voices and to get inspired about what they were saying, about their intonation, about the mood, about like how can I relate what they are saying with my experience, my life, my mood of the day. So I was doing a few improvisation, sometime rewatching a bit, and if I liked something, I could go a bit more on it. But I tried really to trust my feeling of what I was receiving from them directly, and then to do the montage, postponing, during the afternoon,
Post-production.
and to finish Post-production, yes.
Is it something that you feel comfortable with? Is it something new? Or how is it for both of you in this regard? Like, do you feel like you're learning, or you already knew that and this is like your familiar world? What do you think
You mean
about
video dance, to work with the video?
to work with all the skills that are,
Yeah.
digital preparing of your materials and looking at things? And is it something that you feel like you needed to adapt to, or was it natural, or is something that you're still adapting to? How is it?
Kyra, you want to answer first? Whatever.
Well, this summer I made another film adapting to this situation. But in terms of like adapting with technology, I don't feel like I'm adapting like for my work. I'm trying to learn how to do things, but when I do editing, I don't take it really like seriously. I use iMovie. I just do short little things. But I don't ever present them as real films. Like I'll do little improv videos, and I've been doing some videos with my friend here in Berlin, but in terms of like technology, when it's something serious, if I need help, I usually ask someone because I don't feel, it's not something I went to school for. It's not something that like came really, really naturally. Like I know how to do a transition in iMovie, but that's like as far as my knowledge goes with editing. Lisa, do you want to talk about your editing process at all, or like how you're adapting with it?
Oh, new people.
Hello, girls.
Hello.
Nice to see you. So let's continue with the last questions, and then we come and introduce you.
Sure. So I really like mixed video and dance, and this already happened before. For sure, for this project, I really enjoy to do post-production, but the same, like I'm not a professional and I can do a bit of TTT, but it's not my job. And then I prefer to work with people that are a filmmaker. But in general, I really like to create movement for video. I think it's a really different process, and it really brings something else. Also, how you can rearrange the reality or show different things. So it's really a media I really like, and I liked it already before the Corona story, and because now it's more and more the wish, or at least the wish to adapt and to do everything in life. But I think it's also a really interesting angle of focus.
Great. Thank you for this. Okay, hey girls. I'm really happy that you are participating with us and you were able to make it after, I guess, your rehearsal.
I was
yeah,
teaching.
All right. I think you could tell us a little bit more about maybe something behind your work, because I'm asking everyone like about some, I don't know, is there some story connected to your work, and how is it to work with your sister, and so on.
Good question. Yeah, like the work was made especially for the festival context, Diana Vishtema. And yeah, the idea was just to make a piece about connection with nature and with inner animal that everyone has, but kind of loses living in nowadays, in our life now. Yes.
Yeah, it's the idea actually. It was evolving. So the first ideas we have, they were really different, and then somehow we started talking about it, and then researching, and then we came to this idea. We also use the ancient horoscopes, different horoscopes that you mentioned before showing our piece. But eventually it became not only about the horoscope, it's about the animal itself. And everybody has, and we also had talks with our like friends and family and everyone. A lot of people actually have thought about it, that they are a predator, or they may be somebody like a nice animal. I don't know. So they compare themselves with an animals, and so this is, and we started researching into instincts and animalistic approach into movement, and then it's researching different animals, how they move, how they in different situations, if they feel safe, if they feel in danger. So, and it was quite a journey.
Yeah, and also like, for example, an example from life, a lot of owners of the dog or cat, they become similar to their pets. So sometimes you see an owner with a dog, and you kind of see the same face, the same kind of hair, the same behavior. So these kind of moments that we are also animals and we came from like instinctive living, and this was really interesting for us to research.
Yeah, as Liza said, it was created for, especially for Context Diana Vishneva festival last year, and it premiered there, and it got the Best Dancers Award in October last year. So we were happy.
Yeah, we're trying to show it as much as possible. Of course, it's not in, the piece. I mean, it's not as easy as before. So of course, but sometimes
thanks to you, it's possible to do it online because we have a nice video registration. I think we were the only ones. I saw it because Liza was teaching, and because we're sharing one space now, so that's why we couldn't be here earlier. I saw it that we were the only ones, I think, on stage, but we had this nice video registration thanks to Context Vishneva, and we could show it thanks to you. So it's amazing that this kind of platforms exist, and especially now. And I think the future is also behind this. I mean, the online theater also, I think, is developing right now. This situation really helps. Well, helps. It pushes into this. And thank you very much for inviting us. We're very happy to be here.
Thank you for participating. I think I would of course very much prefer to have your work live, as much as I would prefer to have your work even on screen at our venue, because I started doing this as well. But it is what it is, and I guess we all adapt, and I think it's a way of opening our minds also to the other reality behind the ones and zeros. And I feel that dance is so much body centric that it's sometimes really hard to embrace the ones and zeros, but I feel that this is the reality right now in a way. And as much as I think dance carries maybe the most human essence of all, but the presentation of dance can also adapt. But for me, I always find the biggest challenge with convincing people that this is something worth to watch. So I guess it's like, how do we compete with Netflix and so on? Because right now these are not our main competitors. It's not, it's not other pieces or other, performances. More like what else is in digital space that is maybe easier to watch and less demanding. And how can we adapt our formats to the digital space? And I think there is where it's also shown very beautifully on actually your work of Kyra, and this actually could function. It reminded me a little bit of the recent it's not a comparison at all, but it kind of reminded me of the recent what's the name of it? The horror movie that was choreographed by Damien Jalette recently. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's called Suspiria, maybe, or something. It sounds has a title.
Suspiria.
Suspiria. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, we make jokes. The film that I made this summer, it's like dance horror kind of genre in a way.
Was it intended that it's a dance horror? Because I have the feeling that the dance, especially contemporary dance, it fits a lot to how to say, portray a certain kind of emotion and certain kind of state, and it's often, you know, the state of how to say, extreme emotions or extreme uh, expressions, as in, you know, mental illness or some scary, unnatural, not normal things. I have the feeling that it's a perfect medium to express that. And I wonder, what is your take on this? Is it intended, or maybe you wanted to make a beautiful piece about, I don't know, beautiful things? What is your take?
Um, I think just because the choreography, we had a lot of silent screaming in it. And I think because when I was speaking to the director, I was saying that the main character lives in the dreams of others. That I think it ended up becoming a nightmare. And then it just kind of went from there. That, also, when you are choosing your location for filming, it directly affects everything. And that house was really old, and I felt really freaked out when I was inside of it. Yeah, I don't know, like going into it, I didn't have any intention of making a specific genre. I just really worried about, like my main concerns were the choreography and making it fit in these site-specific places in the house. Like, for example, the duet that's on the bed, it's not, when we do it for stage performance, it's usually on the floor when they do all of that. So they had to kind of adapt and make things work for that specific location.
Good. Thank
I
you for
have a
this.
question for you, Kyra.
Go ahead.
Because sometimes it cuts, so I don't know if you talk about it already, but the voice that is on the movie was made after the dance, or was it the starting point to make the dance? Like what we hear. Yeah.
The very first text I made for that choreography, but the second text actually came when I was first brainstorming for the piece, because when I started brainstorming the story, I knew I wanted there to be a character that wasn't affected by time the same way everyone was. So I made up this little text that says, there once was a man who saw everything move. That text had been there for a really, really long time. And the first text you hear came with that 30-minute choreography that was made in 2008, 19, 18, 19. I'm getting the years all mixed up. In that ballpark, 18, 19.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, my next question would be, how do you relate your work to COVID, quarantine, and your life in general? And I think this question goes mostly to Kyra and Liza. Yeah. So let us know, because you probably started creating those works way before all this craze. So I wonder, if you look at your work right now, how does it relate?
Okay, I'll go for it. I don't really think my work relates to COVID at all. Like, I don't see, like, being really honest, I don't see a relationship with it. I think it's really great now that dance film is like really becoming a thing. So that's great, because then it's easier to show it. But like with my storyline and with the intention, there was no pandemic in sight at all with the creation of that. And when we did show the film, we showed it live in person. I think we had a performance with maybe just under 100 people that were close to each other. It was an interactive performance. So they were in a big crowd and they were following us, and we were doing dances in different parts of the museum. So it was really not COVID friendly. We wouldn't be able to do it now ever. So I don't think mine has anything to do with COVID or quarantine. The man feels isolated. We could say this, but generally speaking, no COVID there.
The sisters?
Yeah. It was about the other Lizas, right? Or
Yes, but you can also say if you have something to add. I mean, obviously.
I mean, I can, yeah, for sure. But maybe let's start with you girls.
Okay, we were kind of thinking it's
Not to us.
Okay. Yeah, it was created before, like kind of March before, like 1 year before, almost. But I think it is connected anyway because like everyone even more isolated from the nature now, because when you're in the lockdown, you're in the four walls inside the kind of your apartment, and yeah, like for example, for us, there's even not so much sun coming into our apartment, so you kind of even more isolated from the nature.
Yeah, I think people feel the bigger need now in this connection to nature, to go to nature. And a lot of people got pets because they feel like, okay, we need some, this. It's also a connection to.
Some people actually went away from it somewhere outside the city. And
yeah, I felt a strong need to go to the nature and to be close to the water, like into the woods. I still feel it, but it's better now already. And I think also a lot of people started questioning what they do in life and who they are, and this is also it also connected into inner animals somehow, who they are, what they want to do, how they want to maybe serve people or environment. A lot of people are. Well, now I feel and I see people care about nature more. They speak about it also with all the things that are happening now with nature around the world. So it's really connected, but it wasn't intended to be connected because it was last year. But I think it's very, it's modern, it's up to date still. I think at all times, it's really, this theme is important.
Okay, my last question, I guess, to all of you would be as follows. How are you managing right now? And do you see your careers being heavily affected, little affected, I don't know, moderately affected? How is your relationship with the reality?
Yeah. It's a hard time for sure, and I would say it's really affected the situation because like we are dancers and choreographers and dance teachers, and as choreographers we're young and we are just making our kind of first steps into the field as a choreographer. So inner is not the first work that we did, but it's the first work that we are promoting to the theaters, to the festivals. And that's why it's harder now because theaters are not really open now and they don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we got some shows cancelled.
Yeah.
We were supposed to show it in The Hague, in Corzo. In April, it was cancelled. The programs were printed out. Everything was there,
ready to go.
Yeah, and a lot of like, if you try to connect to theaters, they say we don't know what's gonna happen, so we cannot really like. Even some are interested and saying we are interested in your work, but we cannot promise you anything. So this is no, it's not the best time for the upcoming artists. Hopefully, it's gonna finish soon.
Yeah.
It's gonna get better. But as dancers, I mean, if you think as dancers, there's also nothing happening.
Yeah. So
As teachers, though, there is still possibilities. So as teachers, we're still working, and this is okay. This is good. We discovered the online teaching, which we thought is not possible. But it gives more also opportunities to countries and cities that you don't usually cannot travel to, so you connect to more people. And yeah, so as choreographers, we continue working, we continue creating new pieces, which is not connected to the COVID. But yeah, we continue working, we continue creating, continue trying stuff, and I think we all have to continue and show the importance of it. And yeah, producing and inspiring and being inspired. I think it's important now.
From my perspective as Lisa and as the friend that are artists around me, I can really feel it's getting really long now. And I had the feeling after the first quarantine, like from May, June, July on, I had the feeling that people have this energy to fight for it and to think, okay, we are going to adapt, we're going to find solution, we are going to go on, and let's adapt and readapt and readapt and readapt. And I can feel now that everybody is just exhausted of trying and to find solution. And now it's been 8 months, and yeah, the question is until when we are gonna find solution. It's true we can give classes or receive classes by internet, but I just miss the touch, the bodies, the feeling of being together. And right now, for me, I am doing a study to be a dance teacher. So for 3 months in a row, at least, I can work. And we are dancing the whole day with masks, so 8 hours a day. And we have a lot of rituals of we have to wash our hands every blah, blah, blah. And we cannot touch, and we have to keep distance. And it loses so much our job, like what is the essence of the dancing. And I don't know, I'm maybe very pessimistic, but because also I don't know, in France everything is so hard that yeah, I just don't see the end of the tunnel, kind of. So of course I can still go on with my own project and to think of how can be the future and to prepare the next video dance and etc. But wow, what or let's say maybe in 2, 3, 5 years we will have this new wave of new creativity. Maybe we are in this gap that will bring something completely new. Probably we cannot really say it right now.
I think the creativity is always great in crisis. I always love crisis for that reason, but maybe I shouldn't say that.
Well, coping in this. I think I feel really lucky because during the first part of the pandemic in Canada, there was financial aid given to people if you lost your job because of COVID. So when that happened, that was a really big relief because I had no idea what I was going to do. I couldn't go to work. We were in like a lockdown. And once we came out of our I don't know that we were ever in lockdown, but we came out of everyone being freaked out and we were able to start working. I was working for a choreographer and we were supposed to have shows and they were moved. Then we were doing another project outside with rehearsing with masks, always keeping distance. We had marks on the floor. And then the shows that were moved that were supposed to be in the theater got canceled. And then we're like, well, we still get to do our show outdoors. Yay. Well, it got canceled. And so I had someone really close to me lost their job. All of these things were canceled. I definitely had like a moment of like, fuck, like what now? It keeps going. But I was fortunate enough to have a gig in France that I just finished doing. I'm here with two people that are really close to me and I feel really safe. We were supposed to have a show in Spain and like a residency, and it was so exciting to get to work with two people that we're going to be living together. So we're going to be able to touch, which was super exciting, but no, I'm going home early. And my passport actually just came from Vienna because I'm American, but I live in Montreal and I forgot my travel documents. So that was so fun to stress, but it's okay. My passport's coming from Vienna actually today. It's on the way and I'm going back to Canada. So that's how I've been coping. And I'm going to go back to be in quarantine for 2 weeks because in Canada there's a required quarantine, and going to do a lot of yoga and more grant applications and petting cats.
That sounds exciting. If I can share with you my story, I'm mostly working on touring based, so most of my money comes from touring, but we are very lucky to live in Austria, and Austria has been very helpful as well financially, so no problem at all. But there's been all these tours that I just dream of, and I'm always like in my imagination, part of my imagination is in Costa Rica, part of my imagination is in Taiwan, and it's like, yay, this was supposed to be a great year, but it is what it is right now. And I'm really happy to be able to see your works. Especially I'm really happy that this is taking place because I don't know if some of you know this already, but I said it at the beginning of the event that I got tested positive a few days ago. So anyway, at home, and the fact that I can still have this event, that's great. Otherwise it wouldn't be possible. Anyway, having that said, it was very lovely to meet you, and I guess we can terminate this slowly. Thank you so much for this works, and I really hope that we meet each other live someday, and that I will still keep on seeing your works. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you all.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching this event. There was Craft Choreography 11 that was supposed to happen in Vienna, Erbsenfabrik. Hopefully we're gonna have another one coming in the next year after all this lockdown is finished. If you enjoyed any of these wonderful pieces, and or especially if you enjoy my work, you can always support by many ways. Subscribe, click the like, or simply donate money. That's also possible. Or simply just listen and watch the other things that are on the channel. I would really appreciate if just this work that I do gets more exposure. That will be amazing. All the links are in the description or on the website, and you can find them easily. So yeah, thank you very much for being here. That was Hygin Delimat, and see you next time on the next live Craft Choreography streaming or in the space.